Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1885B, and today's date is June 5th, 2019, and the title of the episode is Deep State Moves to Hide the Evidence from Public, Countermove Already in Place. Father's Day is right around the corner, and one of the best gifts you can give Dad this holiday season is the Patriot flashlight. So what do you get with the Patriot flashlight? Well, you never have to waste money on batteries. It's solar powered. It lights up the darkest of nights. It has life-saving emergency strobe lights. You can charge your phone anywhere. Users have reported this flashlight to be an all-in-one lifesaver. Patriot flashlight is the perfect gift for Dad this holiday. Limited supplies last, and this is the very last chance to get yours at a discount before they sell out. Use code X20 and get 20% off the Patriot flashlight. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, they are making their move to block any type of evidence that has to do with D-Class, with the OIG, with sealed indictments becoming unsealed, or anything else that is put out into the ether. And we can see that they're getting ready to control the narrative, where they want the mainstream media to report on what is happening. And they don't want anyone looking anywhere else. This way, they can spin what they need to spin. But we know the Patriots, we know there's a plan in place, and we'll be discussing this in a little bit. The deep state, they are panicking right now. And they're trying to do whatever they possibly can to stop what is coming. And we know that nothing can. But they're going to do whatever they possibly can to try to stop it. Now, very interestingly, Joe Biden, he's been caught plagiarizing again, and Trump went after him. He was called out, first of all, plagiarizing in 1987 when he used a series of phrases that closely mirrored a previous speech by a British politician, Neil Kinnock. Now, this incident of plagiarizing made the online journal plagiarismtoday.com. Joe Biden's most famous case of plagiarizing was back in the 60s in law school, where it was concluded that Mr. Biden had used 5 pages from a published law review article without quotation or attribution, and that he ought to be failed in legal methods course for which he had submitted the 15-page paper. Now we come to the present. Joe Biden once again accused of plagiarizing, this time in his proposed $1 trillion Green New Deal. This is coming out of the Daily Mail. Joe Biden's Democratic presidential campaign amended his climate policy plan hours after it was released because a handful of passages did not credit some of the sources in the proposal. The changes come after the Daily Caller, a conservative news outlet, reported that several passages from Biden's plan appear to borrow from policy papers and statements written by outside groups without citation. A Biden campaign statement says several citations, some from sources cited in other parts of the plan, were inadvertently left out of the final version of the 22-page document. Now, Trump, he did not let this opportunity pass him by and slammed Sleepy Joe in a tweet. He tweeted, "Plagiarism charge against Sleepy Joe Biden on his ridiculous climate change plan is a big problem, but the corrupt media will save him. His other problem is that he is drawing flies, not people, to his rallies. Nobody is showing up. I mean, nobody. You can't win without people." Now, just think about this for a second. If everything was reversed and it showed that Trump went ahead and he plagiarized, and this is not the first time this happened. We have many different incidences where Joe Biden has been caught plagiarizing, and it's been documented. Actually, the New York Times even had an article about it, that he was plagiarizing. But the mainstream media, the rest of the individuals that support him, will just continually brush this off like it's no big deal. If this was the reverse, where it was Trump, it would be a story on every single outlet out there. And we all know it. Now, very interestingly, Paul Manafort, he is going to be sent to Rikers Island. And Mayor de Blasio is saying that, listen, we're not going to give him any special treatments. And he's going to be put into prison, and he's going to be like everyone else in prison. Now, Rikers is mainly used to house pretrial detainees. However, the outdated facility has become a hive of violence, and its isolated location near LaGuardia Airport makes it difficult to transfer inmates to county courthouses around the city, often delaying trial times. The city right now is currently planning to close the facility in 2026 and replace it with a modern jail in Manhattan, the Bronx, Queens, and Brooklyn. But we need to understand, why is Manafort being transferred to Rikers Island? We need to go back to post 15. This is October 31st, 2017. Back then, the post was, Manafort was placed into Trump's camp, as well as others. The corruption that will come out is so serious that deals must be cut for people to walk away. Otherwise, 70% of elected politicians would be in jail. You're seeing it already begin. A deep cleaning is occurring, and the prevention and defense of pure evil is occurring on a daily basis. They never thought they were going to lose control of the presidency, and thought they had control since making past mistakes. JFK, Reagan. Fast forward to post 1508. Manafort was planted in the Trump campaign. Q says plants need water. Now, Manafort was a plant. He was an FBI plant, and they're keeping him away from Barr. I'm wondering if they're hoping that something happens in Rikers Island, because we know that Manafort, most likely, he will talk, and it seems like they're keeping him secluded right now. Now, Nadler is out there, and he is continually keeping the idea that he's going to be bringing Mueller in to testify. And if he has to subpoena him, he will subpoena him. Now, once again, Mueller said, listen, this is it. I'm not going to be testifying anywhere, and there's nothing else for me to say. Now, if Mueller went ahead and this was all out in the open, and certain individuals were allowed to ask him questions, and I'm not talking about professionals that Nadler picks, I'm talking about the everyday Congress individuals, if they're allowed to ask certain questions, it will blow this thing wide open. And I don't believe that they're actually going to get Mueller to testify. I think this is a propaganda stunt, but we will see what happens. Now, we see that Judge Emmett Sullivan, a Clinton appointee, reversed course on Tuesday and allowed the Justice Department to keep the transcripts of the calls between General Mike Flynn and former Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak hidden from the public. Now, Sullivan last month ordered the transcripts of the recorded calls between Flynn and Kislyak to be released by Friday, but federal prosecutors defied the judge's orders. And this is what the prosecutors had to say, that the government is not relying on any other recordings of any person for purposes of establishing the defendant's guilt or determining his sentencing, nor are there any other recordings that are part of a sentencing record. So Judge Sullivan said he accepted the government's argument to keep the Flynn-Kislyak transcripts under wraps. Ironically, these are the very transcripts that were already selectively leaked to David Ignatius of the Washington Post in January of 2017. This illegal leak to the Washington Post ultimately led to Flynn's firing. Now, I do believe there is a reason why this information is not being released as of yet. I do believe there's still investigations going on. I believe they're holding this back and going to present it in a completely different way, which goes along with the entire D-class, with what they did to Flynn with the 302s. And I think they're gathering this information, and they just don't want this information out there just yet, and they're holding it back. Remember, they only get one chance at all of this, and everything has to be ready to go, and they have to have all the facts in line. They can't let anything, be leaked out to the public, to the mainstream media, to try to spin something or do something with the information. They need everything contained. This is why we've seen no leaks whatsoever. And we know that the deep state, they're not going to impeach. They understand if they proceed with the impeachment process, it is going to fail in the Senate. Actually, Pelosi right now is saying that the public is not smart enough to understand the impeachment process. Maxine Waters is saying that we're not going to impeach right now because the American public is not behind it. The American public is not behind it. And they know that they will get absolutely nowhere. And if they proceed with it, actually Trump is going to look better off. Because once the Senate vindicates him, and the Mueller report has vindicated him, he's going to show that, listen, the Mueller report showed me no collusion, no obstruction. They tried to impeach me, but it didn't work. I'm vindicated in both areas. what ammunition do they have left? They have none. And this is why Joe D is saying that the walls are beginning to close around the deep state. Why is he saying this? Because Christopher Steele, he will be interviewed by U.S. Attorney John Durham. Joe D said the following. Well, he obviously made a strategic decision because he's going to be interviewed by John Durham. It's not the Inspector General from the Department of Justice who's going to talk to him, because he doesn't have any reason to talk to Mr. Horowitz. He's going to talk to John Durham and his people. So there's obviously been some sort of deal that's been worked out. This is great news. I assume he's going to tell the truth now, because this is the big casino now. And what he's going to prove is the FBI lied in the FISA warrants, and they lied to Congress, and they lied to everybody about what they knew about Steele's behavior. And the whole thing is coming down around the deep state. They're all going to turn on each other. And the upper level players, they're going to do whatever they possibly can to hide this information. And again, we'll be talking about that in just a moment. Now, Trump's campaign, they're going after this lawsuit that the DNC filed. And the DNC filed this lawsuit over the 2016 election interference in April 2018. And they're saying that Trump worked with Russia and WikiLeaks to manipulate the elections. Now, Trump campaign requests DNC to be sanctioned over election interference lawsuit, citing Mueller findings. The Trump campaign is requesting that a federal court sanction the DNC over its lawsuit, alleging the campaign conspired with Russia to interfere in the 2016 election. His campaign is saying, listen, the Robert Mueller report came back, and it shows there was no collusion, no obstruction, so the DNC's lawsuit, that should be dropped completely, because now they have no evidence whatsoever. But I don't think they're going to drop the lawsuit, because the DNC, they need optics to show that, no, we still believe that Trump and Russia were working together. Russia hacked the DNC, and they're going to keep on this storyline, because if they drop the lawsuit and they backtrack from all this, what happened to the DNC then? Who did this? Who stole the emails? They're going to have to explain this. And this is why I don't think they're going to be dropping the lawsuit anytime soon. Now, out in Ukraine, we can see everything is changing. The new President Zelensky, he said he is ready to negotiate with Russia to end the war in eastern Ukraine. And he's saying, listen, we are done here. We want peace. This is completely the opposite of what the deep state wants out there. They want everything to look like Russia is responsible, Russia is the enemy, and now the new president in Ukraine is doing the opposite of what they want. Think about what is happening around the world. Think about Syria. Think about Libya, Lebanon. Think about what is happening in Iran, Venezuela. Actually, Iran, they might be talking very, very soon about a new deal. Venezuela, that whole entire push with Guaido went down the drain. And I believe we're going to see peace talks very soon in Venezuela. And of course, there's a black site in Cuba. And I believe that is the real mission where Trump is going after those individuals in Cuba, just like there's a black site in Iran. And everything is changing. The deep state is being dismantled one piece at a time. And all these endless wars, they are coming to an end. And what is left is to show evidence of how corrupt the system is and what these people have done in the past. Now, we know that social media plays a huge role in getting other news out there, alternative news to the mainstream media. The mainstream media has their story. I mean, they've been talking about Russian collusion for 2 years. It turned out that it was a complete conspiracy because they were completely wrong, because the Mueller report came out and said there was no collusion. So they were spewing conspiracy. But again, social media, they said they were the authoritative news bodies, even though their reporting turned out to be conspiracy. And what is happening right now is the deep state, they're preparing to control the narrative. Now, YouTube, they mention that they're going to be taking down certain videos that counter what the mainstream media or authoritative voices are saying. And they're saying that they're going to be just banning certain videos, anything that counters the story of like Sandy Hook or 9/11 or anything else that comes up. And you can see they're getting prepared and ready to shut down other voices. Why would they have to do this? And it's not just YouTube. It's other social media sites also. They're doing the same thing. The reason why they're doing this is because they're trying to shut down as many voices as possible before the evidence comes out, because they can't control the narrative. The only control they have is over the mainstream media, and they only want the mainstream media to tell the story. And this is their push right now. This is their entire push. And this is why the patriots are looking into antitrust violations with Google, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and the rest, because they understand that this was going to happen. Now, the push to do all of this is going to feed more and more evidence into the investigation into antitrust. So this is not going to benefit the social media platforms. But we know from Q, we know from the Patriots that they've already prepared for this. Let's go back to post 2793. Chatter uptick. How to effectively prevent crosstalk, RE anti-narrative across all social media online platforms. Ability to prevent crosstalk narrows comms only to fake news, which provides for more control over what is released to inform the public. A series of scenarios is currently being conducted. Game the system, in brackets bold, to test response, risk, and calc results. Censorship, brackets bold, added layers of inserted code through keyword targeting in bio, history, and comments, plus individual platform mods, has failed to curtail the problem. China, Russia, Iran, fake takedown hacks of select platforms for maintenance is one scenario being game played. 0 day, that's in brackets and all bold, countermeasures in place. Example, think emergency alert system. Think White House controlled new RT news website. Think White House controlled new video stream platform. Think here. Should this occur, immediate steps will be taken to classify each as a public utility, essential public services to gain appropriate government regulation control. Why do we make things public? For transparency. So the Patriots, they have already planned for all this. They already knew they were going to do this, just like they knew they were going to push the idea of deep fake videos. They already planned to show that these videos are not fakes. The Patriots already knew this, and they already knew it was going to come. They knew it was going to come during the period when they were going to release evidence to the public. And they knew the deep state, they were going to do whatever they possibly can to stop the push of all this information, because the mainstream media, they weren't going to push it. They were going to try to hide it, spin it, or control the narrative any way they possibly can. And they knew the alternative media, certain individuals have huge audiences, and once it started to get out there, it would be as like a snowball effect, and they wouldn't be able to stop it. So the only way they could stop it is to ban and block and take individuals down. And we've been seeing it happen. We've been seeing it happen in Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Google, you name it. And this is just the beginning, because they know what is coming, and they're trying to control the narratives. But the Patriots already planned for this. The Patriots are in control. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.